They're three letters which are universally feared. But as the saying goes, like death, taxes are inevitable. Perhaps not as inevitable as you might think here in India, where a very tiny percentage of the population pays any. But increasing revenue through taxes is seen as one way which could help the government plug its budget deficit. India's population stands at 1.2 billion, yet estimates suggest that only 35 million people pay income tax. That's only 3% of the population. So why the gap?
Well, in India we have typically a tax system which gives an exemption to the agricultural income. 70% of the Indians are agriculturists, and if that be the case, 70% of the people go out of the tax net, and the government of India has no will or desire to touch them at all, none of the political parties, because they know the moment they touch this holy cow, they will be losing elections.
In the past year, $230 billion was collected in tax in India. Of that, $85 billion was income tax, but the lion's share was indirect tax at $144 billion. But getting people to pay tax here isn't always easy. A lot of people are paid cash in hand, which means their tax isn't automatically deducted at source.
The recipient of the service pay in cash, and the cash collected is never reported. How do you bring them into the service tax? The number of service providers which are brought under the tax net are not adequate. In metropolitan cities are only few service providers which have been registered. In smaller towns and smaller cities, the service providers are not registered at all.
Authorities in India have come up with novel ways to name and shame tax evaders. In Bangalore, officials have started sending drumming bans to properties where tax isn't being paid to hit the message home. And in other parts of India, eunuchs have been employed as tax collectors. In Bihar, large quantities of rubbish were dumped outside a shopping complex where tax wasn't being paid, causing quite a stink. Tax evasion's a huge problem in India, costing the government billions of dollars.
Evasion in this country on account of the income tax could be valued around $100 billion per annum.
Making the right catch is important for the fishermen here, and the same could be said for the Indian tax authorities, with evasion so high and payments so low. Even with the introduction of electronic filing for tax returns, many here believe more needs to be done when it comes to catching and collecting.